before we begin, I just want to check I pronounce your name correctly.
Right.
How do you say it?
The way I say it is Robel Temesgen.
Robel Temesgen.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Or if you want the longer version, it would be Robel Temesgen Bzoyo Gubai Wahada Marawa Najite Funkulal. So that's the that's the whole package.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have a very long name.
Yeah, the way naming works back in an Ethiopian tradition is we do not have a surname per se, or a common surname.
Right.
So everybody who would come under me would be called someone Robel Temesgen.
Right.
Because for me, my name is Robel, right?
Yeah.
The first name. The middle name is Temesgen, which is my father's name. Bzoye would be my grandfather's name.
Right.
In the case of passports, I use my grandfather's name as a surname, but my kids would use my father's name as their surname. So we don't have the same surname, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
So they would continue the long name, right? But basically it would be the three names from theirs up to the grandfather's name.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. I see. Yeah. Very interesting. Well, I'll stick with the with the short version.
Yes.
So I want to say greetings and welcome to all listeners. As yours truly, Dominic Ruben, at your service. I'm here today with Robel Temesgen, Ethiopian artist, who has been working, studying, currently writing a PhD, a doctorate here in Oslo for some years. And I met Robel through my wife, who works with arts, some years ago, and then met you again last year at Nietzsche Art Center in Lillestrøm, where you had a fantastic exhibition called Eye of Water. And I remember reading in the literature about the exhibition that you've been working with water for many years, specifically sacred water, and maybe even more specifically with the Blue Nile, the source of the Nile in Ethiopia. And indeed, in Nietzsche, you transformed the exhibition space into a riverbed where the people, we're 70% water, so we were also contributing to the river, and you'd intertwined into the river many different stories. But what was very striking is there was two large traditional style Ethiopian books that were completely blank, and then I started to read further into the text and understand this was about the Book of Enoch.
Absolutely.
So this is what we really want to talk about today. The books there was the two blank books, and then we found out that you'd also initiated a work as part of that project to recreate books that had been taken out of Ethiopia, to be able to return them to the monastery. So then this project, for me, it transcends an art gallery. We're moving into history, culture, religion, justice, reparations, repatriation, many areas of life. So therefore, I really wanted to talk to you and get to understand more about this project. So in 1773, a Scottish aristocrat called James Bruce, who was also high up in the Freemasons.
Absolutely.
And he was there in Ethiopia mapping the source of the Nile. And this is a history you can find anywhere. But what is less written about is him taking things away from Ethiopia.
Right.
Can we start there? Can you explain a little bit about that story?
Definitely. But first of all, thank you, Dominic, for this moment. And I believe talking about this project, but also the topics, the subject that it touches upon, as much as possible is needed, and partly why it's not widely documented or written about on the things that James Bruce have taken away has to do with this as well, right? That it's not talking about often because it kind of pull out much more unneeded aspects of life, aspects of community, aspects of nation building, knowledge, production, maintenance, and so forth. So and thank you for that. To look into this particular element of James Bruce engaging the Blue Nile, I guess it is not just him, for kind of an obvious reason. The so-called travelers, the so-called explorers in quotation, are often with this multitasking. There's no travel that one could just do for wandering, but that wander incorporates also potential gathering, potential accumulation of, if not information, if not actual knowledge, it would be also nuances and potential elements for the future. Hence, the colonial foreground. So,
because if you look up James Bruce, it says Scottish traveller.
Absolutely.
Just that.
Just that.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless you dig further, the Book of Enoch wouldn't really come up as an element, or things he have taken with him on his return wouldn't come up. What's widely covered is he have made a travel to Ethiopia, for which he didn't know where exactly the Blue Nile departs from. In his defense and his geographical defense, the Blue Nile was not known where it departs from up until his moment. So he is this, courageous person who dare to go to the wilderness to find where it all begins at.
Although we can read that local people showed him.
I mean, it has existed and it has been known for centuries.
Yeah, so,
it's a significant place for East Africa, at least. So it is definitely known, but by his geographical boundaries, it was not publicly entertained. Up until today, also you would look into Nile, and Nile is kind of discussed at large as an Egyptian portion of it, much more than anywhere else. Then it covers 11 nations, right? So that was the initial point for him to go through Egypt, to go through Sudan and beyond, to finally arrive to Sakala, which is the Gishabai, particularly the name of the local place, where the spring source of the Blue Nile starts from. And of course, as Wikipedia has it, it says he actually brought up his glasses or whatever cups he has to skål, to cheers for his King George the Sixth, for his longevity of kingship and long life. Saluting the moment that he has discovered, again in quotation, the source of the Blue Nile.
Yeah.
But of course, he has spent quite a substantial amount of time at that place, looking much further into wealth that the place have got, which particularly includes, acquaintances with kings by the time, nobilities, people of knowledge, people of cleric positions, all the way up to learning, as far as I know, Ge'ez or Amharic. And it's known that he has gathered quite a substantial amount of artifacts, books, plants, for which he has kind of sent back to the UK basically, but also travel with. So upon his return, it was said to be that numbers of camels have carried out a substantial amount of artifacts and things with him, which includes these 3 prominent books, each are different copies, that are the Book of Enoch, for which he have seen the value to it. So they are basically looted. They are taken away by force. Could be bought up, could be stolen, but basically, he took these three prominent documents, not only for Ethiopia, but I would say for the world that he took up on, and he went back to England, where basically he built up an entire career out of it. Volumes of documents that talk about the source of the Blue Nile, Abyssinia, which is the previous name of Ethiopia, or a grand geographical scale of the today's known land of Ethiopia. Yeah, so basically he took up on that quest.
Because up until that point, it's said that in Europe people thought the Book of Enoch was lost. Up until that point.
True.
But it was taken out of the Roman canon and also out of the Jewish canon. But it remained part of the Tawahedo Orthodox canon in Ethiopia. The only place, as far as I know, that kept it within the canon. Is it a very important book within the Orthodox faith in Ethiopia?
Yes, 100%. And there's a reason for that, which is in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tawahedo Church, the Book of Enoch is part of the Bible. So it is included in the Bible, which makes it one of the significant differences between other Christianities in the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. When you look into it, Ethiopian Orthodox Church has a much more documents included, or much more books included into its Bible, whereas other Christianity doesn't have the inclusion of books such as Book of Enoch. But also Ethiopia, being within the Christianity known for a space on holding on to knowledge, especially those that are assumed to be lost. The Book of Enoch has been a very prominent document, before it's being looted or even after. It is a document that maybe to those who doesn't really know, that kind of have been a place of dispute between Christianity, whether to accept it as a book that talks about God or godly aspects or worldly aspects. And Enoch, is assumed to be actually the first author in this sense, the first person to write book in the Christianity world, where he was invited by God to visit spaces that are beyond, where we could walk and wander around, including heaven and earth, hell, how the cosmic world works, but also went further in talking a lot about cosmology, talking about the Nephilims, the fallen angels, and much more. So that document kind of captures quite an elaborated text, which in some Christianity is seen as less document about God. But in an Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity understanding, this is entirely about appreciation of God's creation. And that, of course, he is significant in many ways, that even out of all the biblical histories, him and I believe it's Elias, who never died. It says that Enoch was taken by God or collapsed on instead of died. So it gives him quite a specific positioning, which includes actually that he would again show up to this world, especially hence the time comes. So his position is quite specific. But for Ethiopian Christianity in the Orthodox Tawahedo Church, it's never the case of being a book being lost. It is a book that has been understood, studied, debated all along. Yeah.
And it's referred to in both the Old and New Testament. Genesis is referred to, Enoch is they call him the grandfather of Noah. The book itself and Enoch as an individual are very established within the faith of Christianity.
Absolutely.
It's interesting that such a writing would be lost, or or is it just been hidden? These things is difficult to get to the bottom of. James Bruce took 3 beautiful, big, leather-bound parchment copies of the Book of Enoch.
Yes.
There's the Book of Enoch, like other books in the Bible. You've got the first Book of Enoch, second and third, I believe. But maybe in Ethiopia it's just the Book of Enoch as one thing. I don't know.
That's what I'm understanding. But the Ethiopian version have got a different coding to it, which is Book of Enoch that is included in the Bible. But there is also another version where he has got, well, they call it a grilled version, where there's additional document that kind of have got a medicinal healing sort of grill of plants based healing, cosmic based healing, or astrological. So that the 2 versions would be defined as such.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. But anyway, James Bruce, he takes these 3 copies away from Ethiopia by force or steals them. But there's other copies, I imagine, in Ethiopia. So it's not the case that he took the books and then they were forgotten by Ethiopians. This is a...
That's exactly the case.
Yeah.
But I guess you could look into history as to why, Wikipedia says there are only 3 copies known to the world, which are taken by him.
Yeah.
So all of them housed in Europe,
Yes.
But in reality...
And where are they now?
So the 3 of them exist as one is in the British Library, and then another one, in London. Another one is in Oxford at the Bodleian Library. The third one is in Paris, the Royal Library. So 2 of them were gifts from him, because he gave Bodleian's version, but also the Paris one by the time I guess he was acquainted with the king of France or some sort. So it was a token of goodwill.
Yes.
But then the third version, which was kept by him up until his death, was somehow now housed at the London British Library.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've read that there was a 4th copy that is now in the Vatican.
Versions of the book, I believe, exists in different places as well.
Okay.
And not only the Vatican one is also known to be a document that debates happen even currently, or an ongoing debate. There's quite an intense conversation around the book and its content within, for instance, Catholic Christianity. So there are definitely varieties of the book in different places. But again, Ethiopia have never said, I have got these books, or I have got this many books besides the 3 books that were taken away. And of course there's a good reason for that, which is the moment you say I've got something, you're opening up a potential loot, a potential theft. So for that, even a regular visitors to those places where the books exist still to date are not accessible by everyone. So usually it's just the clergic personnel who would have access to those books, because the history tells us that the book has been looted in such a way, so nobody wants that. So the church doesn't really claim out loud that they've got the books in different places, but they exist in different places. Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And within the book, as you say, it's cosmological. It describes different types of angels. Some that came to the earth and married human women, and then their offspring were giants, the Nephilim, which kind of destroyed a lot of earth resources and created a lot of problems, and therefore, there needed to be a flood to kind of reset the whole situation. those things are much discussed. You can find endless things on the internet, people talking about aliens and all these things. Within Ethiopia, is it read literally, or is this these things like a metaphor for something within humanity?
Understanding it from the biblical inclusion, the way it's understood is quite literally. There's no metaphor to it.
Yeah.
That it's believed about. The Nephilims are believed to have existed. His visitation, his imagination, his description on how globe functions, on how planets actually float, is quite vivid and is understood as literal as it gets. Because he was the one who has been invited by God to go around and come back to document this. So there's no doubt that it's literal understanding to it. But again, still it's quite intact when it comes to the Ge'ez version. Most other translations exist in Amharic are versions that would be a translation from English. So imagine the Ge'ez being translated into English and then being back into Amharic, which no doubt it would be lost in translation.
Yes.
And I've read a couple of those translations, and some of them doesn't even match in some instances. So it is also old Ge'ez, So I think it would be a very nuanced understanding that it requires.
So here you are as an artist, and you're working with different projects connected with water, as we've mentioned. How did you get the idea of working with the Book of Enoch?
So as I was looking into Blue Nile and the very departure point of it, what was an ethical question for me that kept coming throughout the process was, being situated in Europe, in Oslo, navigating a knowledge system that's housed in the Eastern Africa, how am I translating that passage that I'm taking as if, my blackness, my Ethiopianness, speaking same language, having similar feature in my posture, would give me access to some information that wouldn't maybe the case for an outsider. Meaning that I have access to a grand system where I could also exhibit benefit from in form of my PhD. But then the question is, what am I offering back to this community that this PhD has to sort of respond to? And the easiest portion would be making an exhibition, as I just did in Oslo. But would exhibition suffice in that instance? Of course, they deserve exhibition as well. But what is pressing, what is quite relevant for the locality that I have been in conversation with, was something that I really tried to be attentive about. And, from day one, but also as an Ethiopian growing in Ethiopia, the story of James Bruce and this Book of Enoch has been quite, vivid. People are quite unsettled about this. Everyone speak about it. Even people who doesn't have any clue about the document would still speak highly of what we've lost. So it became more apparent in that locality where, the departure point is at that I end up being confronted with this exact location, where an opposite element was taking place, which is this guy coming to that same position, but in order to kind of survive, took some things away. So for me, it was a question of what could invert because of this project? What could actually be a relevant element for the community to think of within, of course, the limited access I've got? What could I do? And I think one thing that was apparent was, could there be any sort of repatriation, in quotation, to this act? Could water retrieve the knowledge that it has facilitated of being taken away? For the sake of water and searching for that spring water, this guy came and took things away. Could I do the opposite while still being in the same act of search of this water. So for me, that water as a catalyst was quite important, that I look beyond the liquidity of it, the politics, the complex idea of water, which brought me to the element where I start to think about repatriation, but not in a very direct sense of it, because for one, repatriation doesn't end because you have actually placed back the book into their original places. But at the same time, knowing the politics around, those repatriation acts, would it mean something if I actually think of it as an artistic practice of sort, where I could commission someone to write the book in exact same material, in exact same manner, in exact same ink, the parchments and everything, and donate the book that was taken from the monastery in order to sort of, reclaim the knowledge, but also the nuances that it incorporates. In the meantime, contemplate on the possible repatriation of the actual elements. But what could I do within this limited circumstance that I've got? So having a tradition of manuscript writing, the parchment preparation, the calligraphy still exists after thousands of years.
Yes.
Why am I not using that possibility? For one, to continue practice, to be in solidarity with those people who still practices the writing, the preparation of the parchment, but at the same time, what does it mean for the monastery to receive this document? So I had to kind of start from the basic question of going to the monastery and ask people, what would it mean if this book comes back in form of new written copy? Would it still make sense, or is it something that I'm just fantasizing, being just afar, So that was where I started consulting professional clergic scholar, I guess 2 years prior of my act. That was when I have started this action, basically. Yeah.
So when you asked them what would it mean to have a new copy returned, what did they say?
Right. So the thing is, the way I approached it is, the scholar that I was in contact with, his name is Ma'abal Fattana, Mamher Ma'abal Fattana. He is quite a prominent figure in Ethiopia, who has got a school within a church, but also has been published author of a few books, which was very interesting for me. That it was interest for my subject already also, because he talks a lot about water within Christianity. So I was navigating through his books, which interestingly situates also factual elements in fictional presentation. So he called them, he called them as fiction books, basically, but pretty much everything he talks about, except the dramatization of things, are actually quite knowledge coming from the Orthodox Christian. But he didn't want to kind of put them out in a very dry sense of them, because some of them are ambiguous, some are not in canonical procedures. So I was quite intrigued on how fiction, slash factual elements could be dealt with as a way of survival, and making it through, bridging to the Ethiopian community in Amharic, in the language that most common people would read and understand. So I was already intrigued, so I approached him naturally to meet him in person. He invited me to go to Bahar Dar, which is the research area that I was working around. He was at that location. But a day after my arrival, he invited me to join him to go to this monastery. And up until then, I didn't tell him what exactly I would want to discuss with him. I told him about my interest around water, the Blue Nile, but also his books, because they are quite connected. So we talked about that. We went to the monastery, and upon return, after a few days in the monastery, which was a fantastic time I've had, no electricity, no telephone reception, confronted with nature, we came back to Bahar Dar, to the city, from that monastery island, And then that was in my last day. I talked to him about this quest that I have got, and he was quite excited. And just to put in context that you don't really impress Ethiopian Orthodox clergy personnel with this, with whatever you have at hand, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, their devotion is somewhere else, so you could give them as much money as you can, but still, no response maybe. The trust system would be different. I mean, their heart is somewhere else. Their value system is somewhere else. So, it wasn't something that I was expecting an excitement from, but I was quite shocked on how he has framed it. When I told him, I have this idea, I have this proposal of getting someone to write the entirety of it and donate it to a place where it would belong to. And I told him, including also location, I would want to discuss it with you, / the relevant of the act. And he says, if this is actually in any way possible. He said, you've made my heart jump a thousand miles. But he was skeptical about accessing it, if it's going to be possible at all. And that part I told him, I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm confident that I could get something going. So he was quite excited, but also I could see he was quite reluctant. I mean, many people promise things and they go away. So understandably, he was not fully, up there. But one thing he was quite surprised and mentioned is that the monastery we were at in the couple of past days is one of the places where one of the books were taken from.
Okay.
So naturally, he's like, if this is going to happen, where we're going to give back.
Right.
That's exactly the monastery that's going to be placed at. So that make me, think quite a lot on coincidences, what it means to have such leading point from 1 to 2 to 3. I met with the abbot of the monastery. We talked quite a lot, but I didn't mention any of this up until that point. So I took up that assignment just to myself, and I went back to Oslo to continue my search. But that moment was quite a confirmation what it means. Because even on the way to the monastery, I was not sitting with him, but with other youngsters who are actually his students.
Right.
So casually we started a conversation about Book of Enoch. And I asked them, what would it mean if actually someone could copy the book and bring it back home? And one of the young scholar, I mean, in the clergic proceeding, he's quite a respected person. Age-wise, he's like 25, 22. So, he was like, I would give my life to this act. And he was quite sure that this couldn't happen easily. And I just kind of mentioned to him, I'm actually planning to do that.
Right.
And he's like, what are you going to do with the dark power, or with the with the power that's invisible, that would stop you doing it, with the structural power? And I'm like, but I mean, if this is an act of God, I mean, you are a person who devotes yourself to God. What are you kind of inclining into, giving more power to the dark power that you're mentioning, or to the God you trust? And he's like, in that case, anything is possible, but be cautious that this is going to be challenged quite a lot. And I'm like, but if this is meant to be, and I don't have any previous similar act in a way, or I don't have the history of it, or I'm not in this line of work basically, so it might as well be the easiest thing to do, where I'm the least expected in this sense. But it kind of told me the value that it would have within my project, but at large. So I was confident that this is quite substantial, that this is a very important thing to jump into.
Yes. So then the next obvious question is, so what did you do? How did you make it happen?
Well, I mean, having the confirmation from people who knows the subject, who knows its value and history much more than I do. The next step, of course, was trying to look into how to access it or where to access it. And the very first place to go to was the British Library in London. But apparently I was in contact with an Ethiopian scholar who's based in London, who has been actually part of both the British Library and British Museum. His name is Eyob Derillo. I asked him, would you help me out with this quest? At first it was a bit vague for him, a visual artist talking about manuscript and even like with bizarre quest. But eventually he agreed to meet over a Zoom. I tried to explain as much. But up until that moment, I was also not quite informative about what I'm trying to do, because I felt like sometimes when you talk too much about something, it kind of loses its and I wasn't really afraid of not getting this through, but I didn't want to kind of the excitement to take over than the action. So even for him, I wasn't really fully also elaborate about it. I was touching upon what my interest is, and then also trying to ask him where I could exactly access copies, where I could go and see. I learned that the British Library was technically closed for such visitation, such consultation of the books, because they had a very major cyber attack. So they closed visitation for those special collections. So my second choice was the Bodleian, for which I started communicating to the librarians, and then consequently, apply for the visa simultaneously and so on. So, within a month or two, I went to London, then to Oxford, having all the preparation that I should. That took quite a time, and my relationship with the Oslo National Academy of the Arts helped on that. Having the researcher position would be the way to get in. But the morning I arrived there, something didn't work out. This library is having century-old procedures that I should have ID on the spot, proof of residence, proof that I came from an institution and so forth. I even it was quite an extensive process. I had to order the book days prior of my arrival, which I got a confirmation that it's that it is ordered. But then I went to the library up there. All of a sudden the book couldn't be found. So mind you, this is just one copy that they hold on to. It's in the special. It's called David reading room, and it houses quite a special. It's a special collection. But after 1 hour or so, they came back to me that with the information saying the book couldn't be really found for the day, and nobody knows what exactly happens or where it is located for the moment. And one person speculated that the director of the department took it to their office for some sort of work, and they left for holiday. So it's probably locked in. Yeah.
Wow.
But that was quite interesting for me. The way I wrote about it actually in my thesis is, do they know that I don't read Ge'ez? Because even though I made the whole process of going all the way there, it was basically to consult the physicality of the book, nothing about content, because I wouldn't understand a word of it.
Okay.
So I'm nobody to engage with content, but I am assuming my Ethiopian passport told them otherwise. An Ethiopian coming to consult a book from Ethiopia.
Yeah.
So that was my speculation, that I wasn't really wanted to consult it. Might be wrong, but what does it tell you for a book that's been there for 200 years plus?
Yeah.
To just all of a sudden just disappear when I want to consult it.
Yes.
It's impossible for me.
Yes.
I mean, I cannot even leave the book on the desk when I leave for to drink a water to, I don't know, to pee.
Yeah.
But one thing that moment did for me actually was quite interesting. My entire interest is to acquire a digital copy, right? At the end of the day, whether I consulted physically, whether I had this sentimental relationship with the material is one thing, but the most important and significant aspect is having a digital copy of the pages, so that I could I could send it to someone who would copy that. So the person who I have been in contact with for those several months over the email was also the person in touch in the counter. And he see how pity this is, and he promised me a digital version. I didn't say that I don't know how to read Ge'ez. So he said, I could send you after getting it scanned all the way through. It was not finished. So scanning of the book was finished by that time, which, as you might know, within a library system, to get it digitized is quite expensive and an extension of like a large work. So he promised me within a few weeks they would try to finish scanning it and send me a digital version. Which was making an amazing impression for me. I didn't really show my excitement, but I was super excited about that, because I could come back and try to see it anytime. But getting a high quality digital copy means that the monastery could have a very good digital version of the book as well, if they need to copy it again, if they need to deal with it again, if they have a digital library in the near future. So for me that was like a win, a huge win, than my cell phone taking a photo of each pages. I mean, it would work, but this works in a very grand way. So I got the digital copy weeks later as promised, and then the work starts from then on.
So, but I guess you were. They say they will send you the digital copy, but they also said you could see the book. So I guess you were unsure if you would get the digital copy.
Yes, definitely. I mean, so it's just So I had to email them even before they sent it, I think, saying like, hey, what's going on with the book? But apparently they sent it, and it really it was the moment I'm sure things would happen. And then immediately I sent it to Mamher Ma'abel, the scholar that I was in conversation with, to confirm about content. Like the moment I get a go ahead, then that's when we started finding the person to write it, getting them a copy, which was actually quite another process. Not easy, but that's when things actually started to happen.
So then you gave them the digital copy, and then they've taken the time to write it.
I wish that was as simple as that, but because of Ethiopia's current situation, I would say for the past 5 years actually, of a civil war, the places that I have been talking about nowadays in this research have been highly affected, which includes their everyday, lifestyle. So in order to get someone who's good at what they do in the calligraphy and then parchment making as well, I had to go to a specific place, not physically, but I had to look into a specific location, which a close friend of mine is from. So I asked him if he could have someone in mind. He asked his father to look for a person who had the excellence for this. So apparently we found a person. So my contact was my friend in Addis Ababa, who has a contact to his father in Mota, in that locality. Then his father have got the contact for the person who writes it. So basically I never talked to this person who wrote the book. I never had a phone call. I never saw their face. I only knew their name even all the way at the completion of the book. And then because of also the war, there's no digital communication for obvious reason. So meaning that every copy that I would send would be to Addis Ababa, that would be printed in full color in A3 in Addis Ababa, and then wait for someone who would have a transport means to get them there. Because of the war, then still, transportation is quite a hassle.
Very restricted travel.
So in that sense, then the father of my friend, whose name is Tasfa Wubetu, who would be holding onto this copies, printed copies. He would take 10 pages, go to the person who's writing them. He would give 10 copies, receive the old written 10 copies, pay for the 10, come back and then do the same act for the entirety of it.
Right.
So it's quite an extensive process that we took, but also quite a fantastic one.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it made the work quite tough, but at the end of the day, it kind of created also a history of its own in that sense. You know, against all odds of impossibilities, it happened. Even getting the book from that locality to Addis Ababa was a hassle. Because, I mean, you know, somebody would just don't see a value to it and it could easily be looted and just thrown away. Rebels and organized military groups are all across the streets on the roads. So there's every stop would be a potential troublesome.
Wow.
Without never meeting the person who wrote it, not even talking to them or haven't seen their faces, this was possible in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're using methods and skills that are traditional. This is the same, the way they're writing, the way the parchment is prepared, the ink they're using, the way they're writing, the style of Ge'ez calligraphy would be the same, I imagine, as hundreds of years ago.
Yes. I think the only thing that's different is, you know, hundreds of years ago, those people who have this expertise would have a full-time job of doing such acts, because there would be a lot of commission works, there would be a lot of clergic work, so their job was in demand. But nowadays, there's not much of interest on that aspect, so most of them have got their day jobs. Could be farming, it could be some other job. They have got a day job, and whenever there's such an assignment come in, they would pause their other jobs and jump into this quest. But other than that, the entire process is exactly the same. You know, it would take them up to, you know, from 6 months to up to a year to prepare the inks. It would take quite an extensive time sourcing the skin all the way to, you know, making the parchment. Because you don't have quite a pile of parchment that's ready to go. Because you have to source the skin from, you know, butchery houses where they have butchery seasons, or, you know, when they have slaughtery time. If it's a fasting season,
then there's no slaughter.
Then you would be stuck with no work for a while. So it's quite. I mean, I like how supporting its system it has got. Quite a sensible process. But then also you have to kind of wait. It's not just a job that, you know, I give you 6 months, could you produce this and give it back to me? It affects many things, and to be affected by many things. So for that it took nearly about a year to complete it. But they have written in an exact way that it would be written on hundreds of years ago. But what was interesting was the document I got from Oxford was 300 pages of parchment book. But then when I received the book that I commissioned, it was 450 pages. I was quite puzzled and quite shocked, because my quest was to make an exact copy, which includes wherever they see mistakes, they would replicate that. Wherever they see, you know, fit a page, they would make exact copy of a page. Nothing more, nothing less. But what I forgot is I'm dealing with a human being. A human being with a different set of skill, with a different understanding of spacing, letter writing, and so forth. So it became extended. The document is exact same, but the way they write it is much more elaborate, so it would exceed the pages. And this I only knew from the clergy people and the abbot of the monk. When I gave them for a preview, I told them, look, what I have asked is for 300 pages of a document. What I ended up with is 150 more pages. Please check it, and if it's not up to the standard you think it is not, we have to figure out a way. And in my case, you know, it wasn't up to the standard, because what I see should be what I get.
Right.
But they were really making a bit of a fun on me to say, look, this is it's not like your artistry that you make an exact copy of something. This is what happens when you deal with a different person with a different style of writing.
Yeah.
And we check the content, everything is intact.
It's okay.
That's all what we need.
Yeah.
And the way it's written, most importantly, the way it's written as an aesthetically and so on, is accurate and quite well. So that's what we needed.
Right.
And that kind of gave me a bit of a rest.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then just quickly, then the parchment is based on goat skin.
Yes.
And what about the ink? You said it takes 6 months to a year to prepare the ink. What is the ink made of?
So there are different type of grains. I don't know their English name, but there is one called dagussa, for instance. It is quite thin, circular grain. And then they would add some other as well, especially for the black. They use dagussa. They would roast it a very dark roast, nearly burnt.
Right.
And then they would boil it for several hours. Boil it with a measured amount of water. And then either they would pound it or grind it. I'm not exactly sure what process they take. Then it would sit between 4 months to a year, and then it's still refreshed and still kind of prepared every now and then. Then after that amount of time, they would get to start using it. That's depending on the time length and how processed it gets. That's how you would get like the darkest, the blackest form of the ink. And also for the red, they would use particular soil. They would also use, if they use paintings on the book, they would use plants, lightly roasted, but then pounded and processed differently. But which like the essential part is the black ink. They prepare it between 6 months and a year.
So the book gets finished. It's 150 extra pages, but it's approved.
Yes.
So what happened then?
So again, as I told you, this person I was in contact with, which is Ma'abel, I gave him a call when I was actually in Oslo to say, look, I'm actually coming to Addis soon. And the book is finished. It's not on my hand, but it's finished. Soon to be on my hand. Let's plan ahead on the handover ceremony, basically. And we ended up talking for an extended time, how exciting this is, and that it's getting to reality. But up until the moment when I arrive to that Bahar Dar city and meet them, I guess his excitement was limited or consciously still looked after. But then I went to Bahar Dar arranging a set of dates with the monastery abbot as well. And then some of my friends who have been helping out with the project, including actually the father of my friend, who, even though it was a difficult journey, made it to attend the ceremony as well. Which was actually quite exciting. He's a 75-year-old young guy, very, very fit, who made it, I don't know, it's a 90-kilometer distance he had to travel, but it took him, 7 or 8 hours maybe, with several transport modes, because there's no peace on that corridor, basically. So we were a group of friends. The first day I called them, I have arrived here, could you check the book. So they took it with them, they consulted for about 2 hours or so, they gave me a call, so excited. They said, okay, I don't know how it's called in English, but we call them papas. It's like, we have patriarch within the Orthodox Christian system. Patriarch is the top person, but then there are also papas, other popes under him, which are also regional. So in that region there is one papas, Abuna Abraham, their name is. So the Ma'abel Fatana and the abbot of the monastery told me they have made an appointment for an official handover in Bahar Dar with him by his office, because that's the proper channel. And because of, again, the war situation,
Yeah.
he couldn't travel to the monastery.
Okay.
So we had to have a ceremony there.
Yeah.
And I thought that's just it, you know. So we had the ceremony, it was beautiful. He made, I don't know, 20 minutes long maybe speech. Another person who was the minister, from the Office for Culture and Tourism from the region also attended. So we were three. I made a bit of a speech as well as the government representative. So we made an incredible handover session. And yeah, it was quite beautiful. But they told me that upon also going to the monastery, there would be another version of handover among the monks within the monastery. So this monastery is located in a very beautiful island on a beautiful lake, Lake Tana, the biggest lake in Ethiopia. And that monastery was established, I think it was in the 12th century or 11th, I'm not exactly sure. It hosts 200 monks, only men, on that island. So I went there with my friends again and spent a day, and then after a day there was a ceremony of a handover, which was quite moving. I think I've never been shooken to kind of stand in front of people as such. On that day, I couldn't really finish my speech.
Okay.
It was quite gracious. The group of people who gathered around were the highest form of, I don't know, personnel within the monastery. These people, who are maybe roughly, I don't know, 20 people, are the only people allowed to enter that room, which was, the handover taken place at. It's like a prayer room for them. It's not the church is separate, but in that room, this is where they would decide many things related to the monastery. So even like for a person who's ordinary such as me, it's not allowed to enter there. But I mean, let alone me, Ma'abel Fatana, Mamher Ma'abel, who's quite a giant, was not also someone who would be expected to enter that place. So he refused to enter at first, saying that this is not my place to go in.
Right.
So you could imagine what it means for me,
Yes.
like having no clergy experience or knowledge.
Yeah.
But we apparently end up in that room in front of these gracious people who have dedicated their entire life for prayers. So they are not even expected to do labor work in the monastery. Their assignment is to just pray. They might go out if they want to get some food. Otherwise, food could even be delivered to them. Or in some cases, maybe they don't even eat for days. So they have a limited contact to human being. You could imagine their conversation is with their God in every sense of time. So to be, you could sense the energy in that room. It's quite dark room a bit. Very strangely, there's a circular table that also rotates. They place the book on the center. Then even the abbot of the church, the monastery, who is, I would assume, maybe in his early 60s or late 50s. He, in front of these people, he was somehow the secretariat in that room. You could see the value structure. He was a facilitation personnel than the head of the monastery.
Right.
Because these people doesn't really possess power in such administrative way. But they used to be heads of the church during Haile Selassie period. One of them were the head of the monastery during Haile Selassie. They're old, most of them, but there are also young who have the same respect or who receive the same respect. So there is a hierarchy in terms of seating, in terms of where you would be located within the room. There is a hierarchy on who speaks first, who speaks next, and there's a hierarchy to whom I'm delivering it to or submitting the book. And the speeches they make, where I have prepared some 8 pages long of Amharic speech weeks ahead, but for them it was instant. But how eloquent it was, how it was incredible on how they spoke about it. So I was trying to just enjoy the moment, not to miss a bit of it.
Yeah.
We were trying to record as well, but for me, be present.
Yeah,
That's the
in
most
moment.
important
Yeah,
part.
Yeah.
So after a couple of speeches, somebody who was quite close to my seat just randomly stood up and he said, I cannot pass this moment without speaking.
Yeah.
I know this is out of ordinary, but I have to. And then he started speaking about what has happened when James Bruce took this book.
Right.
And this person started saying that when this person was taking this book, or the group of people who came, the person who has been keeping the church artifacts and the book, or the museum space, you could say, in Amharic, or in Ge'ez, it's called Noai Kadusat, sacred items in a way, or
Right.
sacred wealth. So there's a specific room within every church that you could visit, you could get a tour. So that monk was giving them a tour, and then all of a sudden later on he get to realize that Book of Enoch and a miniature gold sculpture of a lamb was missing from the collection. The moment he realized it, he ran down to the shore to try to catch up with those people who visited, but they were long gone. And imagine 255 years ago from today, no telephone communication, right? No jet ski that you just run or following someone. So basically, what he did after realizing that this is a done deal was he committed a suicide on the lake, saying that, what am I going to tell to my church? What am I going to tell to the people losing such a significant document? So the guy who stood up in that room was telling me, you didn't just restore a book, you actually restore a lifeblood. This goes beyond. So for that person who lost his life because of this book, you actually have made something right for that person too. And that was quite a shocking moment for me, even to make a link in this direct sense that someone has died for this. Of course, I could imagine the loss we have had since that time because of the void this creates, not only this Book of Enoch, but many things that we've lost, many things that have been looted. There are lives that has been lost, there are knowledge that have been lost, there are human advancement, there is a community advancement that has been lost. So it was a moment of realizing how much of a value that this book have got within this structure of the monastery, within the church. But at the same time, it was quite a fulfilling moment to know the document that has traveled this much within this artistic practice is going to be looked after. And these are people who would be looking after for centuries to come, right? These are people who would make sure that this book would be protected, would be dealt with, will be understood, will be studied. So it was quite a moment of realization on what kind of ground I'm at, or that this project jumped into. On a very large, complex and quite long-standing practice that it has jumped into. Just to add also maybe on this moment, what I have delivered was the actual book that I have commissioned to be written on parchment. But then there is also a digital version that I have given them with a USB stick, saying that, comes the time for this monastery having a digital archive system. Because, things maybe not continue this way. This could be a good way to start a digital archive. But also, if you look a problem, or if you encounter kind of a mistake within this document that I deliver, if you think there should be a new Book of Enoch to be written out of this same document, this would be a key. So I'm not holding on to a possession of something that's digital archive. I'm also trying to give them to say, please do what's right also as a repatriation, because it shouldn't stop on my contribution. However they see fit, that should be the case. another monastery wanting a copy, they should be the rightful person to give or entity to do so. But then I also gave them the hard copy that was printed out for the calligrapher to write from.
Right.
To say, compare between these things and try to make things right if there's anything wrong.
Yeah.
So they were interested in this. So what actually they have end up doing is they gave the hard copy of this printed version on paper to Mamher Ma'ab al-Fattana to say, study this book, get back to us with your findings, what knowledge should be used, what knowledge should be elaborated on, what we should do with this. Take the assignment on, because you're the one who have been the channel to bring this to the monastery. So we want to give you this assignment, which was quite a huge assignment, I would say, to deal with the knowledge system, to deal with what knowledge it holds besides the document in such a way that it would be housed in a museum. So on our return to Bahar Dar, he went back with this bag of printed version of the book with another copy of the book with a USB stick that I have prepared for him. So yeah, it means that the knowledge is going to be kind of like redealt with, basically. Yeah. Which absolutely, which I think is quite a huge also achievement of the act, I would say.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
I think so. Yeah.
It's incredible. And as I said earlier, this transcends our art project that is shown in a gallery.
Oh yes.
I mean, the exhibition in Nietzsche in Lillestrøm was fantastic and very kind of made a very strong impact. But this is something.
And I think that's where for me, such a project should and would have to travel to, not in a way that it exactly happened in my case, but to think beyond my contribution, like literally, or to think beyond Oslo or a European presentation. Artistically, it would have been great to bring the book to exhibit it here, because it would add value. Imagine to have a Book of Enoch be presented in my exhibition. I think it's a good value added element. But at the same time, why does it have to travel again? Because it has already traveled once 255 years ago. So it's also an act of refusal to sort of not present it in Oslo.
Yes.
But as you've said, I have incited 2 copies of the book in a different form, empty in its content inside, in the gallery space, saying that this exhibition have a thread linked to somewhere else with something else that's as big as, or even maybe bigger, than what's going on here, what you're witnessing here, or what we are witnessing within the program that I have been working on in the PhD. So for me, it was very important to think of this as not my PhD result, which I think is a good decision to make, because I wanted for this to be the ethical response within my PhD than a result of sorts. So it wasn't accounted as a result within the PhD. It was rather kind of responding to the ethical question on how, my Ethiopian origin and my Ethiopian knowledge base could be translated, could be transported to a different geography, but at the same time with a response back to the place where it would be back in conversation with. So, at the end of the day, when I look back into what has happened through this PhD, what I would end up thinking about is this project was based in 2 places. This project tried to contribute in 2 places, than trying to kind of do the opposite act of James Bruce, where, he went and took something away and benefited from. And then, I would do the same, but a European institution paying me a salary to go extract knowledge to bring, back here. So in a way, it's a way that I try to respond into refusing to be used, or even if I'm not used, to refuse the notion of not being able to contribute back. I think that's a very important thing and very legit when it comes to a conversation about go back into colonial or post-colonial or pre-colonial proceedings. What does it mean to transport art, to translate a body of work? But essentially, what does it mean to deal with knowledge? Because, I mean, exporting items doesn't necessarily have to be physical. What does it mean to accumulate stories from that place that I have been gathering from and, capitalizing it from this side of my practice without really being conscious and cautious about my act? Because access doesn't necessarily mean it's open for abuse. And I think that has to be a baseline for me, that because of my position, I have been accessing a much more elements that, than a regular other person would have. But that doesn't make me authoritative to just give the entire thing away for who would be assumed as others. In that sense, I think there comes opacity. There comes also, vivid, lucid presence. Book of Enoch was opaque for this part of the world within this project. So some of the exhibition that I have made are opaque for an Ethiopian or for the geography that I was dealing with in Ethiopian sense. The Eye of a Water exhibition was opaque, but still, it was translucent when you kind of bring all together into a frame. Yeah.
Yes. It's very fascinating, and as you're telling this story, then I'm getting millions of questions
Could imagine.
in my mind. Do you know if there's been requests from Ethiopia throughout history to get these books that James Bruce stole from Ethiopia, to get them returned?
There are initiatives. There is a society for reclaiming such elements that have been looted from Ethiopia in several times, including Magdala, the battle. There is this society that has been tirelessly, working towards and making the efforts. Many professionals being part of it. One of the first successful projects was the return of the obelisk from Aksum that was taken during the second Italian invasion to Ethiopia, which was, an obelisk standing in Rome, and got returned to Ethiopia. And later on, quite recently, a few years back, there was also another version of repatriation from the UK to Ethiopia that was elements from the Magdala battle, which includes, I believe, some sort of a bundle of hair, I don't know how you call them, a braid of Emperor Theodorus that was returned to Ethiopia.
Right.
But given the scale of things that have been taken away, for the most part, and especially given the characteristics on how things have been taken away, looted, the conversation is quite complex. So quite recently, not even a year ago, the British government responded to a request for a remain of Alemayehu Theodros, the child of Emperor Theodros, who exiled from Ethiopia after the war, after the battle between Emperor Theodros and the British Empire. The child, who was, I believe, somewhere around 12 years old, died in the UK after arriving there. And his remain lay, of course, among the nobilities there. So there has been an ongoing conversation to repatriate his remain. And the answer that came from the UK was, now that he is actually resting amongst other kings and queens, they couldn't disturb the other remains while excavating his. So in order to not to disturb the other kings and queens who are resting next to him, his grave is going to be there forever. That's the answer. That would tell you the complexity of it, because I think this answer doesn't just come, out of a blue. It comes from a protective space where this question shouldn't arise quite soon again.
Yeah.
It's a kind of like a settling answer to say, okay, the remains are to be there forever, so his remains should be forever there too.
Wow.
In other cases, materials that have been housed at Victorian Albert Museum, one of the answers has been the very cliche answer that says you do not have the proper house, proper institution, proper channel, proper equipment,
to preserve it,
professionals to
Yeah.
keep it as the way we have kept it. So we are
Right.
not going to give it back to you.
Right.
If we do, it will be a loan.
It will be
Loaning, only to loan it.
Okay, right.
So, given all this context, I'm not sure if there has been a process of requests to make a return for the books.
Yeah.
But one thing that would also kind of complicate things is the way this book have been registered are as gifts that were made to James Bruce. So the moment you mention this book was a gift to him, how do you claim back?
Yeah.
It makes it much more problematic
Right.
than a forceful takeover or looting.
Like the artifacts from Magdala.
Yeah, that was easy to see
Yeah.
how they have dragged
They
it
have-
literally on the floor
There's no
to see.
argument. It's-
No argument there.
They've stolen them.
But in this case, it became much more problematic. So you could imagine how complex it would be.
Yeah.
I think that makes the whole process to have an extended time. So you would see this will be resolved not at least in the coming 100 years, which makes it quite a problematic. And one thing that, while I was conversing with someone about this particular act of the Book of Enoch, one thing that strikes out was also on how such acts of reproduction, for instance, in a very thorough manner, in a way that would make sense, where especially spiritual being or spiritual embodiment is not connected directly. What this act of reproduction could potentially also do is to recalibrate the conversation of repatriation to an extent, to say, not my word, but when I was having the conversation with someone, that he mentioned, imagine you're making a duplication of such books or such artifacts that would have similar value as they have had for the case of building them the way they're made would have kept their tradition and origin. Making such replica and kind of placing them back to where they were taken from would start a conversation into a European arena where one could also say, look, you've been holding on to this material because it has got this and this and this element to it, but now, since we actually could reproduce this in a very, complicated and keeping its complexity, would it make sense to give you a new replica? You would still hold on to the same value, but not the sentimental value. So could you give back the actual element you've been keeping, the original, which you would have in another way, another original, to keep, so that you would keep your elaborated show off and your elaborated capitalizing out of it. So would that mean a new conversation could actually arise also on the notion of repatriation, that it's not a token that is given back, but it's actually an exchange of a different value? Because, there's no value system that's equal to place of origin and place of current positioning. So would it mean, possibly that could we return the value while you keep another original that would still have same connotation to whatever it has been having? So I mean, I think there has to be a new wave of new conversations to kind of jump into this field, because for the sake of expertise, for the sake of priority, I mean, look into Ethiopia for now as just an example. Having a civil war for the past 5 years, when do you have a moment to say, okay, should we actually start a conversation to get some things that have been taken away from Ethiopia back? would that be a moment to do that, or there are other priorities at the moment? So even government offices wouldn't be preoccupied with such a moment to sort of invest on these questions. They have got some other rushing element to deal with, which would extend the conversation for another 20 years. The same goes on into other many places where stability is one thing, that you don't have stability in terms of just literally, human being safe. And in another way, let alone getting a new element from the old looting back to its origin, how are the new things that are also getting looted right now going to be actually protected from being lost, from being looted? Because these wars, these unsettling moments would create a loophole for people to kind of loot things to make a bit of money. The inconveniences are the ones that would create such an opportunity for a thief to actually capitalize from it. So for me, it's also like stabilize oneself to be able to claim, not in order to level up with a museum with a controlled humidity room, but to have the value system settled within a community to say, we want this and we want this now. And on top of that, I think it's also a matter of figuring out a way to capitalize on expertise. Because, looking into the monastery that I delivered this document at, they have built an incredible museum that's just getting finished. And it's quite enormous, especially compared to the collection they've got, where the abbot of the monastery was telling me, maybe there is a purpose actually that I am unknowingly going towards, to which is, it's maybe time for these looted things to come back, to return to their home. That's why maybe I'm trying to actually build a space that's beyond the necessity to have a new space for. Because the elements they have got could be housed in one of the floors only. They have built 4 floors of a museum that has got even a space for developing new parchment books, maintaining old ones, amending, correcting, binding, and so on. So they included workshops for new projects, for also restoration. So he was saying, maybe one of the reasons unknowingly that I'm going towards to is building this huge space so that I am actually getting ready to receive, including the Book of Enoch that just happened. And that gives you hope, which means I think it's good to kind of tidy up one's own house in order to receive such elements. Again, not to the standard that's expected from the looter, but a standard including a knowledge structure, knowledge system, value system that would recognize what these things hold or what possibilities they hold. Meaning having experts on every field needed, having the right people to have conversation or being part of the conversation within the repatriation acts. I think it's much more important to have those professionals also being capacitated so that the conversation doesn't just end on sending a letter and receiving an answer. It has to be constant dialogue, constant writing, publishing, debates, and so on, so that the voice could be bold enough to resist. So that's how I see it for the most part. Yeah.
And you've definitely made an amazing contribution to that dialogue, to that movement.
I would hope so. I think that's the most important thing, that if this could be shedding some light onto conversations that would jump into much more grand acts.
And the handover was covered by national media in Ethiopia. Do you feel like your act was kind of understood or appreciated by those media, like that people in Ethiopia got to hear about what was happening and saw the value of it?
Yes, I would say so. So the first time the project was getting media attention was during the handover in the city, which was within the church structure. Many social media oriented or digital media oriented formats have reported quite extensively about it. But the second one was something that I have agreed to, which was making a national TV appearance. It was quite a prime time. It was given, which was actually a Christmas holiday special.
Okay.
And the interviews were quite interesting for me. I mean, I am one for mostly against TV, especially when it comes to our profession locally. It's people tend to have less research about what they're talking about, and you end up touching only the surface. So for that, this interview was quite interesting for me, that they really made a good research before reaching out to me, which the questions were already sent to me prior ahead. I could see how they have made their research, and it was quite focused. It wasn't also trying to be everywhere to talk about my practice or anything like it. It was quite focused about this moment, about what has happened, and they try to listen as well, which is quite a good thing to get from such a program. So it was definitely quite a good appearance for the project in that sense. I try to deliver what I would want to deliver about the project. Try to be as communicative as possible. The response was incredible. It was something I didn't take lightly, of course, the act and the project in its own, but also I didn't imagine how many individuals would be touched or affected by this act, and it was an incredible amount of support and praise. But at the same time, you would find a friend of mine was sending me some comments people made on the social medias, which was quite interesting, showing their suspicion on my intention, or why I do it all of a sudden. Visual artist coming out of nowhere. What if what if the British the Oxford Library or whoever was in charge of it have manipulated the document? What if I am getting a duplication that shouldn't be duplicated, or have a bit of a mix of something? It's way complicated answers that came up also, which get you realize that of course you have to be this way too. It comes from history. It comes from an experience that things have never been straight. No. So people questioning my intention. Who has funded it? Where does the money come from? All of a sudden, why do you invest on this? What are you getting out of it? So I mean, it's quite a lot to contemplate on. Not on my case, because I've got quite a straightforward proceeding, but at the same time, it shows how much we have been suffering in this case. It gets to a point where people are skeptical or suspicious. So that was also quite an interesting response for me. So it was quite. I wouldn't go to a media if it was not for such a project. But even though doing it, it was quite worthwhile doing it, and it definitely helped out with the project. I want people to kind of jump onto this act as well, not necessarily like mine, but it's also a good way to lay ground on what could be possible and what should be possible.
Exactly. I'm sure it's very inspiring for many people.
I think so.
Yes. And that's also why I wanted to talk to you and try and put this out for other people to hear, what you've done and get a real sense of what you've achieved. So, you did it. You had this vision, and the young monk said, but, what about the dark powers that are going to try and stop you? But you overcome those things and delivered the book to the monastery. So, in a way of kind of rounding off the conversation, where does that leave you now? What's, does it inspire you to do similar things, or what kind of thoughts do you have now that it's completed?
Yeah. I think it's not completed yet, in a sense that thinking about this very book, there are still 2 copies that are lingering around. And for me, of course, I have finished, the project that I really wanted to do, and that was quite fulfilling. But I wanted to continue to do the same act with the rest of the 2 copies, which is now, in London and in Paris. And I believe this is going to be much easier than the first one, for many reasons. But also, all in all, where does this leave me in terms of thinking about it is quite vague. For one, I don't want to also sort of claim a space to sort of be only kind of involving in such acts, mainly because I out of humility and humbleness, that I do not have the expertise to this. So it's much easier to make mistakes in this case. But also on top of that, I don't think I'm doing this as a project that would kind of jump into for the coming 10-20 years. I really do not know what this means. But at least for now, what I am lingering around is try to kind of get those 2 books made. In the meantime, try to kind of also look into what's possible in the future. Figure out a way. For a long time, I have been interested in, there is this Empress Truwork, who was the wife of Emperor Theodros, who was actually taken by the British forces and have died on the way, not even made it to England. Her beautiful dress, which I believe still have got some mud and so on, and for me visually thinking this is how they dragged her, it's housed at the V&A Museum, Victoria and Albert. That dress was the very initial point where I was personally just interested for a long time. This is like, 15 years. That I really wanted someone to actually make a replica of that dress. For no reason. I mean, I'm not going to wear the dress, and I don't know, what to do with it. But I see quite a shitty copies, but made in Ethiopia. People actually wearing a low-key version of that. That made me happy, but still, that was maybe a clue for when the Book of Enoch kind of traced it, and found its way back into my heart. So I really don't know what this means in the coming 10-15 years. Maybe it would find its way just like the Empress Truwork's dress, in a different form, in a very deeper manner. So we'll see. I want to open the door for myself, and I don't want to just say I'm not going to engage with anything. But practically, I'm going to be invested more on the 2 books first, try to kind of complete the project. That's when I would feel this is done, and then I would move on. So for that, I have started kind of a bit of things, and hopefully I'll do that soon. But I have no idea what this means in my practice and what it means in the near future.
Okay.
Yeah.
Robel, it's been fascinating to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your inspiring works.
No, thank you. And to be honest, I'm really glad we could talk about this, further on and much more also formulated in form of a conversation interview. For one, of course, to extend to people who, in whatever way, would find this interesting. But the other aspect is also, it's in a way making and creating an archive of sorts that not only for others, actually for myself too, would be a place that I would want to go back into, listen to, and learn from as well. So thank you very much for thoughtful questions and of course for an extended conversation we've been having, and for the continuation of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
So if anyone is listening and they want to try and reach out to you or read more, or I don't know if you have a website or something like that you can tell us about.
There's a website that I have, robeltemesgen.com. That's where I try to put most of the things quite precise, quite clear, straightforward. Please visit that. And there's contact in there as well. My email as well is there. I'm definitely happy to respond to any interest and conversation to extend to.
Wonderful. Robel, thanks again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.